Howdy, everybody. Welcome to 2 Minutes and Beyond, the podcast where we review the Toy Story movies 2 minutes at a time. I'm Macy Ball, and this is Bianca Garcia.
Hello.
Hello. In this episode, we're talking about minutes 55 and 56 of Toy Story.
We're getting closer to the end.
I know, it's so weird. I mean, we've got like 25 minutes left, something like that.
That's pretty crazy.
24, 25?
24 and 25 is, yeah, around that.
Man. Well, should we get started?
We should.
All right. These 2 minutes start off with Woody jumping down from Sid's desk and yelling, "Go away, you disgusting freaks," at the mutant toys. Babyface comes toward him and he screams and holds up Buzz's arm as a shield, but Babyface grabs it and tries to pull it away. Woody yells, "All right, back, you cannibals," just before Babyface manages to pull Buzz's arm away from him, which sends him flying into the wall. From upside down against the wall, Woody watches the mutants seemingly torture Buzz. He gets up and runs towards them, yelling, "He's still alive, and you're not gonna get him, you monsters." He starts to pull them apart, but at that moment they back away to reveal Buzz with his arm fully intact.
So, I really like, when I was watching the clip, I like how he just grabs the car and just yeets the car
I know.
away. I'm like, the poor little thing.
What's the car's name? Pump Boy?
Something like that. I don't
We
remember
talked about
his
it
name.
before. I think, yeah. Because that was the car that was on the Hot Topic wallet.
Yes, and I don't know why it just made me laugh so much. Like the way he just throws the car over his shoulder. I'm like, that poor thing.
As Babyface was like coming towards Woody, I realized, why doesn't Babyface or really any of the other mutant toys, why don't their expressions change? Like they all have, well, the ones that have faces, they all have the same, smile or whatever, like their default expression is. Like they can't talk. They can't change their expression for some reason. Like Babyface always has that kind of creepy looking smile.
Right. I feel like the answer to that, like the real answer to that, is they just did not want to animate any extra expressions. But I also feel like because they are not in Andy's room, in Sid's room, they're just kind of like scarred for life because he's tortured them so much. So they're kind of just like expressionless. Like, you know how when you go through a traumatic experience, it just kind of changes you? That's probably what happened to them.
Maybe. Or, well, I guess it could just be that it's just more creepy that way, too.
Yeah, I think that, too. It adds a little bit of a creepiness factor, especially since, like in older movies that had dolls, like that one Twilight Zone episode of the doll that would talk, and she was like...
The one that Gabby is based on?
Yes, that one. She was just like, there was no different expressions or anything. Well, also because it was back then, they didn't have any technology to like animate a doll. But just the fact that it was just a still life doll talking was creepy in itself for the time. So they probably used a little bit of that too. Like, okay, that was really creepy back then. Let's just add it into the movie. And, it gives it a little bit of a creepy factor.
Yeah. I like the way Woody runs up to the group of toys. It's still his like normal like flopping everywhere, but it's much more determined.
It's a determined flop.
Like his strides are still like shorter, but his arms and legs are just everywhere.
Yeah, he's noodly. I do like his noodliness.
His scarecrowness.
His scarecrowness, yes. But yeah, I know that he's not really, like, for the whole movie, he didn't care about Buzz, but now we're finally seeing him like, hey, get off of him.
Yeah. He's at a point where he knows Buzz is his only friend. So, I mean, it's still kind of a selfish thing, but he actually seems like he started to care about Buzz, like, just as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls him here in a second, he calls him his friend for, I think, the first time.
Yeah.
And well, other than the last scene where he was like, had the arm and was like pretending that they're friends. But, uh, but it seems, he means it genuinely, it seems like.
Right. In this scene, he's actually like calling him his friend because he is really the only person he knows in that room. And, when you feel like you're being surrounded by cannibals, even if you don't like the person, you're like, hey, that's my friend.
Yeah, well, and it feels it's like it's a turning point in the movie and in their relationship too.
Right. Finally, he's realizing like he's not so bad. I think also he feels a little bit bad for him now that he realizes he's a toy. Now that Buzz is kind of defeated and like, oh, I'm actually a toy. Maybe would he feel sorry for him? Like, oh, he
Yeah.
was legitimately thinking that he was a space ranger and it wasn't just a thing that he was doing. That he legitimately thought he was someone else.
Yeah, like now that he's seen Buzz at like probably one of his worst moments, you're basically having a mental breakdown over this identity crisis.
Right. He's finally seeing it like, oh gosh, like he's actually going through something right now.
Yeah, not just like, oh, he's the annoying new toy who is taking Andy's attention away, but he's like actually a toy with feelings.
Right. And that shows like deep down, even though Woody's been a jerk this entire time, like deep down inside, he does have a heart and he does care. And that's why he is the head of Andy's room because he does care about other toys and he does want them to be, at their best.
Mhm. But going back a little bit, so I noticed when Babyface pulls the arm out of out of Woody's hands, it sends Woody flying backwards, but he flies backwards into the wall, and then when it cuts to him, like, upside down against the wall, he's facing forwards.
Oh, that's true. I never noticed that. Like, I never paid attention to that. I did notice that he goes backwards, but then, yeah, like, he's turned around.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What are all the mutant toys doing? They're just, like, standing around. Some of them are, like, pounding on. I don't even know what they're pounding on, but I'm like,
I
it
know.
shouldn't
I
take
was
that many of
wondering
you to
that
just
too.
screw Buzz's arm back in.
I was wondering that too. I'm like, why are they making such a big deal? Like, there's way too many. It really
There's
literally only takes one person to pop his arm back
They're
in.
standing on top of each other. They're all, like, moving back and forth. They all look like they're doing something, but they're not. They're just I don't know.
It's for dramatic effect.
Mhm.
But I guess also maybe they all feel like they're a little bit important. Like it's teamwork. They're the only ones that they know, and they feel like, oh, we have to do this together because we work together.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well, moving on to the next section. At 21 seconds, surprised, Woody says, "Hey, they fixed you." And he tests out Buzz's arm and he says, "But they're cannibals. We saw them eat those other toys." And then the mutant toys all move aside to reveal that Janie and the pterodactyl are standing right there with their heads taped on with duct tape. Shocked, Woody stands up and looks at all of them and says, sorry, I thought you were gonna, eat my friend." Suddenly, all the mutants get scared and disappear under Sid's bed. Woody asks, "Hey, no, no, hey, hey, what's wrong?" He gets his answer when he hears Sid's mom call, "Sid?" And Sid answers, "Not now, Mom, I'm busy." Woody exclaims, "Sid," and tries to pull Buzz away, but Buzz is still too depressed to move. Woody says, "Buzz, come on, get up, use your legs." When Buzz still won't move, Woody falls backwards and yells, "Fine, let Sid trash you, but don't blame me," and hides under a milk crate just in time for Sid to open the door.
So I like that once Woody, like tests out his arm, Buzz doesn't even care. He's still just sitting there really sad.
I know. Well, if you look, I think while Woody's talking to some of the other mutant toys, you can like Buzz is kind of like he's looking at his hand, you know.
Yeah, like, he's looking at it like, "Oh, okay." But it's funny because, like, when they first swarm him, Buzz kinda looks like, "Oh, hey, these guys," you know? But when they're done, he's still sad, like, "Oh, I guess I have my arm back."
Like he just doesn't care.
Yeah, like, during the time that they're working on him, does he just go back to being sad? Like, "Oh, they're just fixing me." And then he just
I
stays sad?
I guess so. This is what Woody when Woody is like, sorry." I feel like that's the way that's like the thing that I think most of us that happens to most of us at one point where you think someone is doing something wrong, and so you either, like, start to get on to them about it or, you try to stop them or whatever, and then they're like, "No, I'm not doing." Then, they explain what they're doing and there's nothing wrong with it, and you're like, "Oh, sorry." Or
Yeah,
like he
you're
was just
just kinda like, "Oh, I assumed wrong."
Yeah, well, and Woody was literally just calling them disgusting freaks a few seconds ago.
Yeah, it's also kinda like when you lose something and you get mad and you start accusing everybody that they took it, and then you find it, you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Like, whoops.
I mean, you just jump to conclusions, and I feel like that's what that is, like, both Woody and Buzz both assumed that these toys were bad just because they're in Sid's room, so they thought like, "Well, they're all bad guys," but, I mean, that was just, like, something that they assumed.
Yeah, and I feel like there's probably a deeper lesson to be learned there about not making assumptions about people, just because maybe they look creepy or you can't communicate with them or you don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah, and, like, I've had a lot of that happen, like, before, like, I've experienced that. I haven't actually, done that too many times. Like, I try to be as open-minded about people as possible because I don't want them to think like, "Oh, she's just rude," or "She just assumes everybody's bad," or something like that. But I've seen it where, you see someone come in and even at church, like, you see someone come in, they're all tatted up, they look kinda rough around the edges, and people will look at them like, "Well, what are their intentions?" I'm
Mhm.
like, "They're at church, you need to be nice to them."
Yeah. Where where were Janie and the pterodactyl this whole time?
I
Like,
know,
when did they get
exactly.
fixed? Why why haven't Woody or Buzz noticed them before this? Why weren't they helping fix Buzz?
I know, exactly, why weren't they helping? Oh my gosh, they're probably just, like, waiting for their big reveal, they probably kinda just like, "Oh, we
They
wanna surprise them."
they've just been hiding under the bed.
They've been in the ICU, they've been recovering.
It makes me wonder though, we might have talked about this in one of the last couple episodes, I don't remember, but why if they fix Janie and the pterodactyl, why don't they fix, the rest of the toys? Why don't they fix each other?
I know, they could fix themselves, but I guess maybe, like, either the rest of their parts were trashed
Yeah. Or
or
like baby heads or baby face's head, like all his hair is pulled out and his eyes
yeah.
gone.
And then, like, the body too, if it's, like, one of the fabric stuffed bodies, probably, like, Scud got a hold of it or something, and it's just destroyed, so that's probably what happened to that, or just Sid blowing things up. Maybe they were all explosion toys, and whatever was left over, he's like, "Oh, I can make something out of all these body parts."
Maybe.
That's really messed up, though, to blow up a baby, now that I think about that.
I mean, yeah. Even if it's just a baby doll.
Exactly, like, what the heck is going on in your head?
Or even if he didn't blow him up and just like tore the head off or something.
I know, that's kinda I don't know what I think about that.
So when Sid's mom calls to him, and then he says, "Not now, Mom, I'm busy." She says a couple things after that, and I've never been able to tell what she was saying. I tried to listen to it, but it just sounds like she's yelling at him. It just sounds like "da, da, da," and I don't
Yeah, I've never
what
been
he's talking
able.
over part of it, and I just can't tell what she's saying.
Right. I've never been able to decipher that either. I don't think it's anything specific. I think they're just kind of trying to make it sound like she's yelling at him, like, get back here. Maybe that's what she's trying to say.
Yeah. Like, "Hey, I made more Pop-Tarts, come eat them."
Pop Tarts for dinner. That's all they eat. Oh my gosh. I would hate to live in a family like that where they just eat Pop Tarts all day.
Yeah, as much as I like Pop-Tarts.
I know, I like Pop Tarts too. I took them to Disney, but at the same time, like while I was eating it on the plane, I felt kind of weird because I was like, I don't want them to get mad at me and like eat me off the plane because I didn't take what they were offering.
Moving on, at 59 seconds, Sid bursts into their room with a package and exclaims, "It came! It finally came!" He runs to his desk, opens the package, and says, "The big one." He takes a red and blue rocket out of the box, sets it on the desk, and reads the warning on the side, which says, "Extremely dangerous. Keep out of reach of children." And then says, "Cool. What am I going to blow? Man. Hey, where's that wimpy cowboy doll?" Woody gets scared and then crawls back further into the crate. Sid looks around and picks up the milk crate, only to find that Woody isn't under it, and we see that Woody is actually hiding against the bottom of the crate. And he's shaking again, making that, I mean, it's quieter, but he's making that shaking sound again.
He's making that little rattling sound, and I always think that's so funny because it's like you have him this close to your ear. How do
I
you
know
not
he's
hear
trying to
that?
contain it so Sid can't hear, but
Oh my gosh, I know. And I always think it's funny when he pulls out the thing, he's just like the big one. Every time I see something that's larger than normal, I say that I'm like the big one. Another
where did
thing,
he get what? Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Another
you're good.
thing is, me and my friend, whenever we'd see something, we'd always say, "Keep out of reach of children," the way he says it.
Where did he get this? And who let him buy this?
I
This
know. I've always wondered
giant
that. Like,
firecracker.
I feel like maybe since the internet wasn't a thing
Yeah,
then, like to order stuff, he probably just found like a catalog and
probably.
just
Stole
used
his
his
mom's credit
parents'
card
card, yes. Or a check, and he just knows how to write checks and put it in the mail.
and forge his parents' signature.
Yes.
That was the other thing. I was like, where is he getting money for this? And like, who is going to sell a firecracker like that to, a 10-year-old, 10, 12, however old he is?
Right, exactly. I'm like, who? It specifically says to keep out of reach of children. And
Yeah.
what is he? He's a children.
He's a children.
He is.
If you look closely at the side of the box that the big one comes out of, it says Ill Eagle Fireworks Inc. And there's a little logo of like an eagle on it. Which I didn't realize the joke Ill Eagle Fireworks until I typed it out into my notes. That's funny.
It is funny.
That's a fun little Easter egg.
I feel like maybe it's since it is illegal, it's probably a very shady company and they don't care who they sell to.
Yeah. I don't know why, but when I was a kid, I always thought that the Woody hiding on the bottom of the crate was one of the funniest parts in the movie.
Yeah. Because you think like there's not really a way for him to hold on to anything. So you know he's pushing with all
He's just
his
like
might to
pushing.
hold on.
Yeah. Maybe
Maybe
that's
that's
why
why
he's
he's making the
shaking.
rattling sound because he's holding with all his might to not fall.
Yeah.
I think it would have been funny if he fell though and was like scrambling on the floor like a little cockroach, and that would have scared Sid.
I do remember always being stressed out at the part where he's looking for Woody and he lifts up the crate, even though I knew he wasn't like, as a kid, I knew he wasn't gonna find him under there. It always stressed me out. I was like, "He's gonna find
He's
him."
right there. Yes. I'm like, do not blow up the wimpy cowboy doll.
At 1 minute, 33 seconds, Sid steps on Buzz's arm, picks him up, and says, "Yes, I've always wanted to put a spaceman into orbit." He puts the milk crate on his desk and puts the toolbox on top of it, and Woody hides under a notebook. Sid pulls a roll of duct tape out of the toolbox and uses it to tape Buzz to the rocket while Woody watches in horror. But before Sid can carry out his plan, lightning and thunder strike and a thunderstorm begins. He says, "Oh no," and the clip ends there.
I always wondered how Sid never noticed Woody falling down and like hearing the notebook
Like, didn't hear the
rustle.
thump.
Exactly. And then hearing the notebook rustle, and like I would have looked, I guess because I notice stuff so much, like anything that moves, I notice it. But I guess he was so enthralled in taping the rocket to Buzz that he was just like, whatever. It was probably something moving in my toolbox, but
Yeah.
any little
Well,
thing, I'm like, oh no, what was that?
I was thinking about it too, and I was like, if Sid does look towards the crate and Woody tries to hide under the notebook, there's no way he can really hide under there. He's not
Exactly.
gonna fit.
And I feel like there's enough lighting right there to where you could see something moving under there, even at
Mhm.
the corner of your eye, unless Sid has horrendous peripheral vision.
I was gonna say, I don't think any of the people in this movie have great peripheral vision.
I feel like they don't. And coming from somebody who has fairly decent peripheral vision, like any little thing at the corner of my eye, I will look. And a lot of the times, like even like when I was at work, everyone was like, "How did you notice me coming? I was sneaking." I'm like, "Because I can see almost 180 degrees behind me."
Also, Sid didn't notice that it had been starting to rain because it started like the clouds were rolling in
That's
the scene
true. He
before
didn't even
this.
notice that. He's just an oblivious kid.
He was excited about his package coming, I guess.
I mean, I guess that makes sense because when I get a package, I get very excited.
When I come home and see that Amazon box.
Yes, exactly. Especially when it's something that like you've been anticipating and waiting and you're just super excited about it.
Mhm.
Sometimes I forget what I order because I order so much. Well, I used to order so much. Now that I don't have a job, I kind of have to put the brakes on that because I need to
Yeah.
save my money. But when I was ordering quite frequently, I'd forget what I would order. So when I get a package, it was like Christmas. I was so excited.
It's like sending yourself a present.
Exactly. And then when you do it so often, you forget what you order.
According to the audio commentary, the rain effect through the window was done using the particle system. I think we already talked about too how the clouds in
Oh,
the
yeah.
previous scene were like a
Mhm.
painting being morphed. I'm pretty sure the clouds that you see like through the window here are also a painting.
Mhm.
And they watched the movie In Cold Blood as inspiration for I guess the rain. I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know exactly
I
what they
haven't
were
seen that
pulling
movie
from.
either, so
Yeah. So if you have seen that movie, then maybe you'll understand why they pulled inspiration from it. I guess just for the rain effects in it.
yeah,
I don't know.
probably.
I just have written in my notes, Woody is trapped with 3 exclamation points.
I mean, that kinda sums up that's like the best synopsis ever of these 2 minutes, Woody is trapped.
There's something I mean, it's just an image that's been in my head my whole life of Woody being stuck behind that milk crate, like they're prison bars or something.
Yeah, that I don't know. That's just one of the moments that you remember the most because it's like almost at the climax of the movie. So it's building up to where they're going to make their break and where they're going to scare the hell out of Sid. So, this part is almost anticlimactic because it's like, oh no, what are they going to do?
And it's also stressful as a kid watching it because it's like Woody's trapped in there. Buzz doesn't wanna do anything,
Yeah,
and,
as
like
a child, I
and
was pretty stressed out.
and Woody's completely powerless to, get out or try and help them escape.
Right. Yeah. No, I see that. And when I was a kid, I was even thinking to myself, I'm like, what does my mom know that Woody's going to get out of this? I'm all like, look at him. He's stuck in a milk crate.
Although I'm looking at it now, there's, like, the handle on the side
He could
that's,
have
like, kind of a hole. I'm like,
squeezed.
if he really wanted to, he could maybe I don't know if his head would fit, but he could
Well, I
maybe
mean, in
squeeze through
Toy
that
Story
handle.
4, we saw how he could squish his head. So he could probably
That's
squeeze his
true.
head through.
Maybe. He'd have to, like, reach back through and get his hat.
Yeah. Maybe just push his hat out first and then go through.
I don't know, it's hard to tell if I don't know, that might
But then
work,
again,
might
that
not.
gives me a bout of
Because now you could
claustrophobia because I don't
now
like squeezing through little things.
but now just thinking about just realizing that he could probably fit through that hole has kind of ruined the scene for me now.
Yeah, no, that
Oh,
makes me
well.
kind of mad because he could have done that and he could have gotten, they could have gotten out sooner than what they actually did. But then that wouldn't, it's part of the movie.
Just don't think about it. Pretend we didn't say anything.
Exactly. We ruin things for ourselves.
And for the listeners,
And
probably.
I'm sorry, listeners. It's not ruined. Just forget we're talking.
Or, just take all these things into account and make just think about it like all these things are somehow still working together and creating a great movie in spite of these flaws. So think about
Yeah.
that instead. I don't know. I don't know
Just
what I
take
was trying to
everything we
say.
say with a grain of salt.
Pretty much.
We've already talked about his posters,
Yeah.
but I really like that they look like the 90s posters that were the black velvet, where you would color it with like almost highlighter markers
Oh
so that
yeah.
it would pop when you put it with a black light.
Yeah.
And those were super popular. That Mega Dork poster. It's always looked like Ozzy Osbourne to me, the person on the
Yeah.
poster. That's the only thing I can think of because he's got the little glasses. Ozzy doesn't even play guitar. I'm like, he looks nothing like Dave Mustaine. So I'm like, what are you doing with this poster?
Yeah. I
But
like all of Sid's posters. I mean,
I
they're
like his
disturbing,
posters.
but I don't really see him a whole lot. I mean, there's a couple shots where we can see him in this clip, but they're
Yeah.
disturbing, but they're colorful. There's one where it's like a zombie arm reaching out from like a grave holding a guitar.
Yes, I like that one. I would probably, out of all of them, if I had to choose one, I would probably choose that one to hang up in my room.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd actually noticed that one before.
I wonder if they have them for sale. I need to look to see if anybody's made them on like
Etsy.
Redbubble or something or Etsy. Yeah, I need to see if those are available. I would put those up in like an office or something and be like, "Look at my cool posters."
There's something that's always kind of bothered me, although now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it shouldn't. When Woody is, like, testing out Buzz's arm, the way it moves so fluidly, I'm like, "That's not how Buzz toy arm moves, but I guess Buzz can move it that way, so
That bothered me too. That really, like, I didn't want to say too much because I didn't want to be nitpicking, but that always bothered me because that's the way loose, articulated figures move. Like when you had a little G.I. Joe and
yeah.
their little, I guess, springs or whatever was holding them in to be like posable, whenever that would run out, it was just loose and you could not really pose them anymore. And that's
Yeah,
what I always thought of.
well, and it looks like, when Buzz's arm is off, it looks like there's just, like, kind of a screw thing on the end that you, like I would
Right.
assume you
Like you
just
could just
screw it
twist
in
back
there.
in. Which I
But
don't see
I mean,
why.
Buzz can move it however he wants, so I guess it still
Right, and I never
makes
understood
sense in toy
why.
logic, but
Right. Why didn't Woody do that, though? Like, why didn't he
why
just
didn't he
screw it
think
back
to just
in?
screw it back in? I don't
Exactly.
know.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
maybe there is more to it than just screwing it back in. I don't know how to fix toys.
Maybe you just gotta get 20 different toys to jump on you and, like, pound on you and then just magically put it back in.
Maybe he was planning to fix it later, but, in the moment while he's talking to the other toys, he just didn't have a chance, and he's just like, "Well, I'll just take his arm and pretend like that's Buzz, because I can't,
Yeah.
get him to come help me."
Right, and if he jumped down from the desk, the toys would have been like, "Oh, he's lying, let's leave," and then they just leave, which they wound up doing anyways.
Yeah, well, he might have just been thinking, "Well, let's work on getting out of here, and I'll fix your arm in a little bit or something." I don't know.
Right, he's thinking more of like, "We need to get out of here," more than, "We need to fix your arm."
Yeah. But I don't know, probably it only took the mutant toys a few seconds. Granted, there's, like, a whole horde of them pounding on the ground or whatever.
Oh my gosh, I know, I was like, "How is that fixing Buzz?" But it's whatever, he's fixed now.
I really like the angle of the shot when, Woody is trying to drag Buzz backwards, but, like, Buzz still won't move and, like, Woody falls backwards. So
Yeah,
they just look so s they just look really small against on the floor down there.
right, like, you can see the actual, like, "Oh yeah, they're small, they're toys,
They're toys.
they're not life-size humans, they're toys."
Yeah, it kind of puts things into perspective for a second.
Mhm. They're so small.
I know they're just little
Tiny.
toys.
Which
What
makes
do
it
you
more stressful because you're like, "You're so small, you can't do anything." Like, you don't you're even more helpless when you're that small.
It's like that John Mulaney meme, "I am very small and I have no money, so you can imagine the kind of stress I'm under."
Yes, and when I first saw that meme, that resonated through my soul. I was like, "You get it."
Oh, there's one more thing. I totally forgot to well, I can't remember if I forgot or I just decided not to write it down, but there's a couple of shots where you can see, like, the shot where, Woody is hiding in the bottom of the crate, where you can see have a good view of the ceiling in Sid's room,
Mhm,
and we've talked about how weird Sid's room and Sid's house is quite a bit,
mhm.
but there's, like I don't even know what it is. You can see, for one, he's got popcorn ceiling,
Yeah.
but there's, I don't know, an indented area in the ceiling. Like, if you
Mhm.
go to a minute 33, you can see it.
Right. Yeah, no, I've noticed that he's got a very odd layout. And it's just so like, how does this room work?
No one can figure it out.
Honestly, I honestly don't know what's going on with his room.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't really. And I want to know if there's an actual house that looks like this or if someone's tried
Well,
to
I mean,
like
it was
rebuild it.
the house was based on Pete Doctor's attic,
True.
as we've talked about multiple times.
Right. But what I'm saying is like an exact model. Like, has somebody tried building like a dollhouse? Like, you know how they do like the
Oh,
house models? Like, I wonder if
yeah,
someone's tried to do the exact room to see if it works.
that feels like it would be really hard to do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like his bed is underneath this giant slant, and then opposite his bed, there's like a wall and a closet door. And then on the other side, there's his desk against the window. And I can't, like, right now, I can't really see what's between, like, oh, I guess there's another window, like, in like a little area between the closet door and the desk.
Right. Like there's two
I don't,
windows in there, but one is where the desk is, and then there's the other one where it's
yeah,
where he's interrogating Woody.
yeah.
And it just
It's
doesn't make
so
sense
weird.
how this room like I'm
And
gonna
then
have to draw out this room.
in the scene where he's interrogating Woody, because it mostly takes place in front of that other window, it almost looks like a totally different room. It almost looks
Right.
more like a hallway, to be honest.
Yeah, because it kind of extends forward towards the window, like it's one of those little windows that kind of like protrudes out of the roof.
Yeah,
But it to me it doesn't seem like that would be because that's a big area because he's standing right there.
yeah.
Because
It's so
usually those
weird.
protrusions, I know, I dang it.
I also just noticed on the wall, like right next to where Sid puts his toolbox on top of the milk crate, there's
Hmm.
a no smoking sign.
Yeah.
I'm glad to know Sid doesn't allow smoking in his bedroom.
Well, yeah, because he's got explosives in there.
That's
He's
true.
gonna blow up.
I guess he just thought, oh, I guess this sign looks kind of cool. I don't know.
I feel like he's like a little hoarder or like a little pack rat where any little piece of junk he sees, he's like, "Ooh, I like it."
I guess so.
I mean, because he's got a bunch of junk.
Is the thing that Woody's hiding under? I was calling it a notebook, but I think it's actually like some kind of instruction manual.
Maybe.
It's got as I was like looking through the clip when you see from Woody's perspective, you can kind of see the um the top of one of the pages, and it
Hmm.
says TM 31-210 and then something else under that, but it's I can't tell.
Hmm.
It looks like some kind of instruction manual.
Maybe it is. Let's see. I'm
It
gonna look it up.
probably is. I
You
feel
said it
like
was
there's a
TM31
yeah.
slash
I feel
210.
like there's a shot later on. I'm looking at 153 is where I can see it.
So I googled what that is. It is a U.S. Army improvised munitions handbook.
Oh, okay. I feel like there may be a shot later where you can actually see more of what's on the front of the book now that I think about it.
Right, yeah. That's
Yeah, that's
crazy.
interesting.
That's
I wanna
funny
know
that
how he
he
got his
has.
hands on that.
Maybe his dad was in the military. Maybe that's why he's kind of just like a whatever kind of guy. Like,
I don't know. Could be.
maybe. That's crazy.
Well, do we have anything else to say about this clip?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
I think we found more things to talk about than we expected, to be
In the
honest.
last 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can wrap it up then.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Be sure to follow our Facebook and Twitter accounts and send us an email if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns. And if you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.